In this tutorial, we are going to learn a new thing, inserting a menu into your Flexbox element. Here it goes. You can see that all these menu list items, those are aligned into the central position of this web page. And on the other hand, you can see that on this mouse hovering, they are just changing into a different background color. And if you press Ctrl+Shift+M and get back to the mobile responsive view, you can see that at the lowest possible dimension or display, all those menu items, those are now aligned into the extreme left, and they are practically having a whole block, a whole width, as you can observe over here. So this is the thing that we are going to learn in this tutorial, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. Now we have to create this menu, as we can see here, and we have to create it into our project that we are currently working on. So in doing so, the first thing that we will be doing here, get back to stylesheet.css and here create a new class. Everything will be done in the same order as we have done previously. So I'm creating a class name with menu, and here I'm creating padding 10 pics. Here I'm providing the list style to none, such as there won't be any bulleted style format present here. And then all we are doing, we are just creating a UL list class, but we are not mentioning any property of it. We are not providing any kind of particular attributes over here, but just create it. Now in here we will be now creating the property of anchor tag over here. Text decoration will be none, such as there won't be any underline. And then we are creating the color. For say in the first case, we are not providing any kind of padding over here. All we are doing, we are just pressing Ctrl+S and get back to index.html, where we are creating, as we have discussed earlier, that this menu shall appear at the top of every other contents into your web page. So that is why all we need to do, we need to call this class name here. And now all we have to do, we have to create an unordered list first, and then we have to create all those list items inside. Everything that was discussed in our previous tutorial, for reference, you may go behind and watch how to create a horizontal menu, as we have discussed all those techniques to create a horizontal menu. Now we have created an unordered list inside this div class menu, where 5 list items have been introduced, and we have created the corresponding style sheet over here. This menu class, it has been defined, and all those things, those sort of things have been defined over here. So now we press Ctrl+S and get back to our project and reload here, and we can see that everything inside is now happening well and all right, no problem with it. Now as we can see, we haven't declared any kind of float properties over here inside this list item, as we did previously in our previous tutorials. Instead, we just left it alone, we just left it empty, and here we can see that this menu item, it is now getting vertically listed. Now if we do not provide this one, list style none, just reload, and you can see that these bulleted formats are appearing over here. So to avoid this kind of bulleted formats, it is practically the default value we are declaring here as list style none. Now just reload, and you can see that all those bulleted formats are gone. Now we have to make the amendments all over here. Provide a background color. Now you may choose your own background with the help of a graphics editor, as I am doing here. Provide the hashtag always, reload. Now it is almost done over here. Now the question is, as we can see, we have to make it horizontal. As we can see that all those menu items are practically horizontal in nature, but these are vertical. Now in this particular case, we are making something more tricky over here. We are practically targeting this media query, we are copying this menu UL from here, pasting it inside, and here we are stating display flex. So the display is flex in this particular case. And now if we just press Ctrl S and get back to our project and reload, we can see that those menu items, those are practically getting horizontal without any kind of float attribute, as we have done previously, there's no presence of float left option over here. Instead, we have stated that minimum width of 768 pixels, this menu UL, it will be having a display flex option. Now if we get back to our project and press Ctrl Shift M, we can see that at lower resolution and that at lower dimension, practically all those menu items, those are getting vertically stacked on each other. But in case of larger device preview, if we just get back over here, we can see that those things are now getting horizontally aligned. Now the rest of the things that you can do over here, the amendments, those are to be made. We are providing a particular padding of, for say, 20 pixels. Margin property over here, for say we are providing a margin of, for say, 10 pixels from either ends, from the left end and from the right end. Now this is the syntax that I have used here, and get back and reload, and you can see that this is practically leaving a constant 10 pixels of margin from both the ends, from left end and from the right end. But this is not a very suitable method in case if you are talking about a mobile responsiveness over here. So instead of providing such a margin, now we will be playing another trick over here. Now instead of doing anything else, the first thing that you have to do, you have to mention this display block option here. That is why in lower resolution, if you encounter this kind of serious trouble, that means those things are not getting proper view. Now if you reload, you can see that everything is now present at its own style. Everything is now present inside. Now this is the amendment, the first thing that we needed to do over here. Now in this particular case, if we now inspect our earlier cases, we can see that we have used a justify content attribute. Now this justify content attribute only works in the scenario when you are using a display flex to the parent div. As you have used this display flex in a minimum width of 768 pixels, that means you have to use it over here. In the first case, if we use space around, press Ctrl S, get back to your project and reload, and you can see that all of your contents, those are now practically spaced around, those are now practically leaving equal spaces from both the ends, as you can see here, and they are leaving equal gaps in between. That means you don't have to worry about anything. Now if instead of justify content of space around, if we use here space between, you know the drill quite well. Reload, and you can see that all of them are now equally spaced evenly, but this is not the actual thing that we wish to have. That is why we need to get back to our project, and here instead of using all those attributes like space around or space between, now we are using here center. So if we use center, now if we reload, we can see that everything is now concentrated into the central position. And if you press Ctrl Shift M, you can see that instead of central alignment, it is now aligning into the extreme left of your web page in case of smaller display device width. Now the rest of the things, you know the drill. All you have to do, you have to create some hovering menu item. For say we are having a little bit of darker color over here. Now just reload, and you can see that it is in action. Here in this side you can see that this is already in action. Background is getting changed due to this hover color, and there's a steep padding. So that is how you can create a menu inside your Flexbox item. Now press Ctrl Shift M and place here 767 pixels. You can see that still these menu items, those are getting vertically stacked down. But if we provide 768 pixels, now we can see that it is now centrally aligned and it is changing its background. So in this particular case, there's no need of this menu UL list item, so we can easily discard it off. We are discarding it. Now this is what we needed to know from this tutorial. You can do a lot of experiments with it. So that's all for today's tutorial, and hope you guys have liked this tutorial. If you guys have liked this tutorial, then do not hesitate to hit that particular red subscribe button down below. Hope to see you guys in our next tutorial. Till then, bye.